YouTube. It's Will from Middle Development. It's my 293rd weekly update. So let's see. This week went pretty good, I'd say. Started off the week, squats and deadlifts as usual. And I talked about this a little bit before, but I'll talk about it again just real quick. How basically average strength to me, and there's another term a friend told me, sorry, stuff on the floor. A friend told me, and they described it, and we were describing the same thing, we just used different terminology, and I liked his terminology better. I can't remember what it was, but essentially it's the idea that any day of the week you can hit X number. And that's really your average strength, and there's a better word for it, relative strength. I don't remember what term he used, but it's essentially just describing that, like, if last year, any day of the week, you could bench 100 pounds, and then this year, any day of the week, you can bench 150 pounds, meaning even on your worst day, you can still hit 150. You've gotten stronger, even though your max last year might have been 160 or 170, and this year it's still only 170, which wouldn't really happen, but let's just say that's a better basis for your strength in general than, say, a 1-rep max on your best day with perfect peaking and all that kind of stuff. You know, hitting a 315 bench once is impressive, but to me it's more impressive to be able to hit 300 any day of the week that you want. Because that to me tells me this person bench presses with a strength of 300 any day of the week versus somebody who's needs everything in line to hit 315. You know what I mean? And maybe it's not more impressive, but it's to me it's a better marker. You know, knowing that any day of the week I can hit 135 on a strict press for 5 any day of the week. Whereas hitting 135 once was a goal of mine at one point. So I've gotten demonstrably stronger just by looking at that. And of course my max has gone up too with that. And of course pushing your max will push your general strength up too, or your average strength, whatever you want to call it. Obviously it'll push those things up too. But the reason I bring this up is because I generally have those kind of numbers in my head with regards to squat, bench, deadlift, and press. And essentially it goes like this. Or it used to, where basically any day of the week I could hit, and my numbers were really low on some of these just because of injuries and things like that, but squat, it was like I can hit 225 any day of the week beltless, no question, for at least one. I can bench 250 for one, no question, any day of the week, that kind of thing. I can, strict press 135 for 5 any day of the week, no questions asked. And I can deadlift at least 315, no questions asked, any day of the week, beltless, with no equipment, just me and a bar. And with that in mind, I've sort of bumped up those goals and made my goals better. And in that, I tend to hit those numbers every day that I train that movement. So on squats, I was going for 315, and I got that. I was able to hit 315 for 4 separate training sessions for 1 in a row, no questions asked. And then I tried 325, and I got that. So I said, okay, 325 is the new number. And on Monday, I was able to hit 325 for a single, and then I actually hit it for a double yesterday because the first one felt so terrible that I was like, let me just do it again while I still have the bar on my back. And then I've got it for 2. No questions asked, I can hit it for 1. So 325 is my new, I'm going to hit this every single time because I can. I want, even on my worst day, I want to be able to hit 325. You know what I mean? That's the whole idea of it. And then pressing, now that my shoulder's starting to feel better, like I said, it would only take a few weeks, I thought, and it has only been a few weeks, and it is feeling better, a lot better. Like I just did a pressing session today, and in the middle of some of the training, I did feel a little bit of that pain I was having before coming through the left arm, but it went away. By the end of it, I did a bit of a kind of a extra little pump session at the end, and it just got a bunch of blood in there, and it felt a lot better. Doing a lot more reverse movements, like reverse flies and W's and stuff like that, to rehab it, and face pulls, which help with this particular issue a lot. And whatever that particular issue even is or was. And my new push press number that I want to hit every single time, no matter what, is 180. Originally, I had it was like 175, and then I was like, oh, let me try 180, and I can hit that every single time. And I've done it 2 training sessions in a row. Next time it'll be, I'll probably try 185, and then just slowly build that. I'm hitting this number no matter what every single time, because that's not near my max. 200's my max as far as I know, and so it's like if I can just slowly build up that number while also doing those lower rep sessions that are obviously higher intensity as well. But I still practice my push press while also doing my strict pressing, mostly because I really like strict pressing and I tend to be better at that than push pressing. But I still need to practice at push pressing too, because when it comes down to it, I'm not going to be able to strict press 200 pounds probably any time this year. Let's just put it that way. Probably we got 7 or so more months. I doubt I'll be able to get that strong to strict press 200. But hey, you never know. I could give it a shot. Don't really see it happening, but it's definitely it'd be cool to do. But I would like to be able to push press 200 more than once a week. I've missed 200 more times than I've ever gotten it. So that's kind of where I'm coming out with that particular movement. I'm not benching right now just because I was worried the extra strain on my shoulder would agitate it or aggravate it, I guess is a better word. And I was correct in that assumption. The first couple weeks I was sort of in denial about the injury. And I benched those first couple weeks, and I only went up to like 225 and even 250 on one occasion, and I was just like, ooh, this isn't good, no. So I'm not really benching, but I know I can hit 225 any day of the week now on bench. And deadlift, the number is 365. No matter what, I want to hit 365. On my worst day, I want to be able to deadlift that, and eventually it'll be 385, and then eventually 400, So I think you get the idea, but to digress and go into what's actually important this week. Squats, I think I did sets of 5 on Monday with squats, and I want to say I did 315 for 2 sets of 5, and then a set of 4, because it was rough, and then I hit 325. And then Tuesday was pressing, and I did strict pressing with 155 for sets of 5. And I did 4 sets of 5 on that. And then did push pressing with 175, and then went to 180, and it still flew up. And I said, this is probably a good number. Things were feeling good that day, and I was like, you know what? I probably got a little more in the tank, but I don't want to set 190 as the number I have to hit all the time and be disappointed. So I'm just going to set it to 180, something that I know I can hit no matter what, even on a bad day. Like today was a little rougher of a day. I wouldn't call it a bad day for pressing, but it was a little rougher. Wednesday off. Thursday, squats and deadlifts again. Did a set of like 3 at 315. Everything was rough yesterday, squatting wise, so I just went up to my 325 and just called it, and did a bunch of accessory work instead. A little bit of front squatting, back and hip permitting, and then some lunges and stuff like that, which tend to make everything feel a little bit better. And then deadlifts were also rough on Thursday, and that was ended up doing like sets of 3 around 315, 335 I think, and then I pulled my 365 and I was like, cool, we're done, okay. And then tonight was pressing again, doing pull-ups only on my pressing days too, because I think part of my problem was the way I was doing my pull-ups was aggravating my shoulder, so I changed the way I did them. And because of that slight technique change, it's forced me to sort of go back down. And I was able to hit 6 sets of 6 tonight, and I'll try sets of 7 and just slowly build up like I was doing, but just with the slight technique change. And if you're curious, essentially I was pulling like that, and all I've done is basically start pulling just slightly more flared elbows. Instead of being tucked in like that, I'm kind of coming out here. And it seems to treat my shoulder and my bicep tendon way better. So that's how I'm doing it. I'm sure there's somebody out there who knows anatomy better than me and could explain why that happened. I could probably look in one of my books here and figure it out, but I'm not that interested. It was like, let me just try this, and it worked. So here we are. And then pressing, I did 160 for sets of 3, just keeping it easy. I'll do sets of 4 with that on Monday, see how that goes. after a nice weekend of rest and yada yada. And then did some block pressing, some accessory movements, and then a lot of direct shoulder delt work, flies, reverse flies, banded lateral raises, that kind of thing. And then a bunch of push-ups too, just to get a little chest pump going. And that's where we're at. And I think that's about it for the week. I'm trying to remember if I mentioned it last time or not, but I have started, I've done a bunch of work on a video series I'm starting. I believe I talked about it last week, and I'll probably do a separate video just to sort of announce it. Once everything's done, I don't want to set myself up for a timeline like I've done in the past and then miss that timeline, and then all of a sudden the project just gets dropped altogether. So I'd rather have everything just done and be like, cool, here it is, it's coming out these days, it's already scheduled, yada, But the stone series that I was working on, I finally got a apparatus that I can use to weigh the stone. My only other option was to actually go to my job, where they have a scale that goes up to like 5,000 pounds, so that would have been a good option. But honestly, I don't want to lug that thing anywhere that I don't have to. I mean, the thing was like estimated at least 540 pounds. So if I don't have to lug that around, I'm not going to. And so what I did was I bought it's like a giant tote, and they use them for like moving gravel and stuff like that. And I'm just going to roll the stone into that, and then essentially hook it up to the scale, hook the scale up to a pipe, lay the pipe on the truck, and then just put the pipe on my shoulder, and then just stand with it on my shoulder, and essentially team lift it with the truck on my shoulder to actually weigh the thing and see what the actual weight is. Now this is after finishing, which I'm going to have to do a bunch of finishing this weekend, so I'll probably get some footage of me finishing some stones. And then after that, I will get the series done, and I will get that released, and we'll go from there. And then the other project is another concrete-related project, and it is also stone-related. And it's a recommendation/question I've seen over and over and over on lots of boards, and there's lots of opinions, but I've never seen anybody actually do an experiment about it, so I went ahead and just did an experiment about it. And concrete generally is accepted to be fully cured in 28 days, so I poured them last weekend, I think, so I've got another 3 weeks at least to wait. And I think when I mapped it out on my dates, it's going to end up being in cure stasis, I guess we could call it, for at least like 33 days. So there's no question that they'll be fully cured. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to be as scientific as possible, while also still replicating the environments that I'm trying to test. So that's where we're at with that. So look forward to those. And I hope everybody's still training out there. And that's about it. So look forward to those new series coming out soon. And if you don't, then what's your excuse?